So this is some information about how to fill out your worksheet for concerning shutter speeds. So we're going back a couple pages, and number 4, it says define shutter speed. So again, shutter speed is the mechanism that's inside the body of the camera that controls the length of time the light is hitting the sensor. So it has to do with time and exposure, how long that light is hitting the sensor. The second thing it does is it controls our ability to capture motion, and that motion can either be blurred or stop action. Okay, so there, just like the aperture, the shutter speed does two things. Number 5, again, I do want you to list all of the camera shutter speeds that your camera offers. Again, this is kind of busy work, but it'll help you remember what your camera offers it. Number 6, describe S mode. Shutter priority mode is what S mode stands for, and that's when you can choose your desired shutter speed and the camera figures out the correct aperture to go along with that. So you're pretty much guaranteed a good exposure unless you're shooting in these extreme conditions where it's just too bright or too dark. You may have to involve a tripod, or you may have to come back at a different time of day. Okay, so those 3 questions come back, and then we're going to skip through the aperture, and then this next part, which is testing your shooting modes, part 2.2, is shutter priority mode. So what I would like for you to do is, hopefully on a fairly windy day, find a comfortable spot and photograph things that are moving. So if you are going to the beach, photograph the waves. But going to the beach with a digital camera is very dangerous. I wrap my camera in plastic and then put that plastic inside of another bag, and then I put that bag inside of my beach bag, so that when I'm ready to shoot, I take my camera out of both bags, and I do my shooting. I put my strap around my neck. I never ever set my camera down. I do my shooting and then wrap it again in the plastic bag, then put it in the second bag, zip that up or tie that up, and put it back in my beach bag. It has to be double protected, because sand inside your camera is very bad, and you guys know sand gets everywhere. But this is not a bad place to take it. Maybe you go walking along the pier and then you're looking down on the beach and it's not as dangerous. Or you have a flag in the front of your house, or you can go photograph some birds, whatever. Just make sure that they're moving. And so again, you may not be able to get to all of your settings. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that the shutter speeds work the same way the apertures do. When you're talking about closing up the aperture and opening it up, the shutter speeds either are twice as slow or twice as slow or half as fast. No, that doesn't sound right. Just do your best. Try to get to as many as you possibly can. Okay, and I forgot to mention this, but the shutter speeds, when you're making them slower or making them faster, 250th, let's just start there, is twice as fast as 125th, right? But twice as slow as 250th. So these numbers that I'm showing you, here at the bottom of this work page, these are kind of some of the standards that have been around. 1 inch, every camera has, not 1 inch, 1 second, and then they may go to bulb. Bulb is kind of fun. Bulb is, as long as you're pressing on the shutter, the shutter mechanism in the camera is open. When you let go of the shutter, the mechanism closes. So that's how we could do longer exposures back before they had, 15, 30 seconds. But even you can say like 15 seconds is half the time of 30. So there is a formula, just like with the aperture. okay? Then there are, of course, thirds and halves in there as well. Um, but I just want you to go through your full times, or as many full as you can get, and try to, show some motion. Stop it and show it blurred. You just never know until you start playing around. One thing that I will tell you, and I'll hopefully will mention this many times throughout this semester, there are never any rules that are, you should always do XYZ. Those just don't exist, mostly. Really, because how we take pictures and what we take pictures of and how it's going to look, it all depends on the time of day we're out there, what the weather is like, how much light we have available, what we're photographing, what kind of things reflect back to us. There's just so many things going on. I can't tell you that, okay, if you shoot at 250th or higher, it's always going to be stop action. Well, not if you're photographing NASCAR. I mean, it depends on how fast the object is moving. At 250th of a second, you're not going to see anything in NASCAR. It's going to pass by your camera, way too fast. So really, there aren't those kind of, always rules. It always depends. So do become familiar with your shutter speeds. I do suggest you go out at different times of the day. Just go out for a few minutes at different times of the day and see what happens. And while you're shooting this worksheet, it might also help you figure out what you want to photograph. Okay, so it's this page this week on the worksheet.